shattering hopes of diplomatic progress. Iranian media reports that an Israeli drone strike has killed a regional police chief in the country's west. The Israeli military says it targeted over 150 locations in Iran in a massive overnight offensive, killing at least 20 senior commanders, including top military figures like Revolutionary Guards Chief and Aerospace Force Head Amir Ali Hajizadeh. 9 nuclear scientists were also among the dead. As explosions rocked provinces like East Azerbaijan and Lorestan, Iran activated air defences in major cities. Amid the carnage, Iran has declared ongoing talks with the United States meaningless, blaming President Trump's support for Israel's offensive. Israel, for its part, says the strikes have dealt a crippling blow to Iran's nuclear program. Defense Minister Israel Katz has warned that if missile attacks continue, Tehran will burn. Well, joining us to discuss all of these developments in our top story today is Adrian Calamel, a terror scholar who is joining us from New York. Adrian, as always, it is a pleasure to have you on, but we're having you speaking to us this evening in the midst of uncertainty and potential escalation that could have wider ramifications. Firstly, can I just get your opinion on what your thoughts were after these strikes have been carried out by Israel's military and then following the overnight action we saw from Iran?
Thank you for having me, Joshua, and good evening to all your viewers. When I first saw Israel's actions and what they took out, we could see this coming. Trump was kind of giving the Islamic Republic an off-ramp with negotiations, but if you know Ali Khamenei, and Trump probably knows him from his first term, he was never going to give up the right to enrich and to reprocess. And Khamenei would say that that's for peaceful purposes, but if the Islamic Republic reprocessed and enriched uranium, they would be the first country not to have a nuclear weapon. And so what is going on is, what had happened was we were getting really close to a window where they were weaponizing and militarizing their highly enriched uranium. And so that's why the clock was really ticking. Trump put down that 60 days. I thought it could extend to 90 days, but it needed to be done from an Israeli perspective, because this was an existential threat that they were facing from the Islamic Republic, acquiring a nuclear weapon that openly chanced death to Israel, for the destruction of Israel, etc. So that's the one aspect of it. As far as the Iranian response, or the Islamic Republic's response, it's much of what I expected, because they don't really have much to respond with. Their biggest piece of leverage that kind of protected the nuclear program was Hezbollah. And Hezbollah had been basically, they're a shell of their former self. Multiple layers of their commanding control structure has been just eliminated. So they didn't have that as a foil. So what we can expect, I would think, from the Islamic Republic is more of the same, shooting of ballistic missiles, but that's a finite supply. They can also activate the Iraqi proxies, which have been relatively quiet, but what you see on the table is what you get right now as far as the Islamic Republic's response and their actual capabilities.
Yes, Adrian, I'm glad you brought up the time frame there, that 60-day period that the US had given Iran to agree to a nuclear deal. I have asked this question already today, but because I haven't got a straight answer, I will come to you with it. We know that the 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and several countries, including the United States, took years of planning with multi-nation collaboration. This conversation and these deals that have been spoken about, put forward, Steve Witkoff isn't a diplomat. He's ultimately a golf buddy of Donald Trump's, who's been thrust into this position. Given that only 60 days was set aside and Israel have attacked on day 61, was it realistic that a deal would ever be agreed in that time frame, having not done previously, before Trump pulled the US out of the deal?
Well, I don't think it would ever realistically be done because of our election cycle and the regime and Ali Khamenei's belief that a nuclear weapon and the ability to enrich uranium is critical to the survival of the regime. Trump got a good look at what the Islamic Republic was like from 2016 to 2020. By 2018, he had had enough. There were 2 years of negotiations. Then he moved to the maximum pressure campaign. Then we had 4 years of Biden letting the Islamic Republic violate all sorts of sanctions, not really keeping an eye on what's going on with the nuclear program, etc. So, no, 2 months. No, it's not realistic. But this was always going to happen, Joshua. I'm sad to say, because it's the regime. They believe that a nuclear weapon was critical to their survival. No matter what the JCPOA said or what was in it, that was just pushing the ball down the road. It was to push back sunset clauses, but it was really still giving them a pathway to a bomb. If you look at the original JCPOA, it would not have prevented them from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
Yes, Adrian, and as we bring an end to this discussion, I do want to look at US involvement. We know that overnight strikes from Iran, over 150 ballistic missiles fired. The US were in part helping to bring those down and limit civilian damage and civilian casualty. Today, Iran has warned the US, the UK and France that if this continues, then there will be attacks on military bases, also on shipping in the region. How quickly could this escalate into a wider war that would involve potentially the US and other Western allies, along with Israel, Iran, and potentially other nations on the side of Iran, like Russia, who have spoken out in strong terms against the move from Israel?
Yeah, great point. And we fully expect that, the second we get involved, or the second the Islamic Republic is feeling desperate, that they will hit maybe at one of our bases in Iraq. I have heard today, and this is an escalation coming from Ali Khamenei, and this would bring a very strong response from Western powers, that he wants to block the Strait of Hormuz. If that happens, that shuts off a lot of global oil supply. That's something that he has always saber-rattled with in the past. It's led to crises during the Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 88. Then there was a tanker war from 86 to 88 that took place there. So if he does that, then I would expect the United States to, President Trump say, we're going to eliminate every frigate, bog hammer, these little boats that they have to maneuver around any listening stations, spy stations, listening ships. They're all going to be scuttled and sent to the bottom. So if Khamenei thinks he's playing with a weak hand, if he thinks he can do these type of things with impunity, I think he better take a look in the mirror and realize that, this is not going to be the goal here is not to have a long drawn-out war. The goal here is to completely end the nuclear program with the Islamic Republic. And I will say, it's going to, if that happens and this continues to happen, what we may see is the Iranian people rise up and take back their country.
Adrian, I wish